Thokozani bantu abadala. Gogo. Today I decided ukuthi I would like to visit ugogo Gosiame Makwele. Am I saying it right? Makwela. And I thought that it would be very important because she's someone that I've actually met in the social space, aside from work and industry. I think she, really, to be honest, I properly met her on social media. And I think it's something that I wanted to maybe look into, Guti. Sometimes we go online and people think, oh my gosh, this is like such a horrible place. But sometimes, guys, it's not. Sometimes you meet like really amazing people. And fine, it's not like you're the best of friends with them, but you feel like when you're with them, you relate. You feel like when you're around them, like their energy is a good energy. And I thought that I would introduce you guys to her because she's one of the people that I feel like, oh, geez, how authentic, how interesting. And I think as a healer, it's so important to recognize the good in other healers, to not only think, when you are right and your way is the right way to do everything. So, hi, Gogo. How are you?
What an intro. I'm like, oh, is that what you think?
Yeah, it is. That's cool. The truth. That's nice. I think I've always, when I met Gosiame online, I would sort of be able to sense your energy, and I would never know why, because I'd be like, why do I sense that maybe today she's not okay and she just needs a hug, but virtually or whatever, And I think because of that, you've always just been the one person or one of the few people that I don't mind having around me or being in their space. I just think Uguti as a healer, I don't know, because I've never been to see you like that, but there's just something about you that interests me. So I wanted to talk to you, but on a more formal platform where you introduce yourself to us and you tell us ukuthi usebenza kanjani and who is Gosiame Makwela, the healer. Yes. Or not the healer.
Or not the healer. Or both.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I'm Gosiame. I'm known as Gogo Dieketseng under the umbrella of the healing work we do. And I am umthandazi. Predominantly umthandazi that will use amathambo, actually. So angazi if that quantifies
no,
me.
No, it does.
As isangoma, but I don't think ngisangoma, and I'll explain why.
Yeah.
But ngumthandazi osebenza ngeinhlolo, and then I use tarot, and then I use candles, the Bible, namanzi, nemithi. Yeah. So ngiyahlahluba nje kanjalo. And the journey started for me formally.
Because we almost go through it all our lives.
Yeah, formally started in 2018. And I've just been trying to navigate my sense of self also, and just navigate what I'm here to do, trying to find ukuthi kahle yini le engizoyenza lana, but just before anything, I think you are saying something so important when you say we look at social media and think it's such a horrible place, blah blah blah, but I met you there, and you came at me and you saw me and you continue to see me. And funny, it's the one thing that I feel I need constantly, I don't know if it has something to do with the way my journey was carved, the way in which I was initiated, but I've never had a sense of a community, ngendlela engangithwasa ngayo. I think nginoba for oyiwan, guys.
That's so crazy. So I think it's crazy because maybe for me, I've had it quite different, right? I've had the sense of community. So I've always been someone who khulele empandeni. I've had siblings in Pandeni. I've had friends who are healers and who I've been able to, over time, say, oh, sis banbani or goks banbani, can you help me with this? Or what do you think about this? But, in a really honest sense, I've always felt alone,
Sure.
And I think that's the crazy thing that maybe we don't talk enough about, Tuguti. as a healer, the higher and higher you go into your spirituality, you almost have to do like a lot alone, and we don't see that, you know. So I think maybe I'm tapping also into the fact that maybe when you say community, you are the community, you know.
Damn.
You know. But you know what I wanted us to discuss? I wanted us to discuss like maybe what's been the best part of your journey, and also what do you feel thus far has been like the worst part, especially like when you talk about the sense of community thing, because I think it's important for people to know, Guti, when you're a healer, not everything is like easy as well, you know. But I want to know from Gosiame, what's been like the best and what's been like the worst.
Yo, let's start with the worst. So it constantly feels like I'm being thrown into the deep end. And ever since my journey started, I've never had a healer or a teacher or a mentor that literally holds my hand and is like, okay, let's go. You know? My journey just went left, and then one day I was told, wake up, go right. And how bandlang Gosiame, I need to be going left. This is what I was doing. You know, I had to unlearn so many things, you know. So that's just I feel like it's the worst. Like having to mentor other people, that is the wildest thing on earth. Like, you know what? The day I die, guys, I'm going to God's throne. You
put me literally to a test for my entire life.
Not that one. Like, that's the worst. No, it definitely is the worst. I can't even no, it's so difficult having to carry omunyu and go through. It's like you are initiating all over again, because everybody's literally coming with different things. They make you realize the things that you know, are like, but now you gotta face them. You gotta do the things you don't want to do.
Yeah, that's so true.
You know,
definitely.
So I think I'm being set up, but anyway. And then the best, you know, I don't know if I can mention names, but I think I should. I had a conversation with Sis Gogo, I think it was 2017, and I was starting out. So I was in the process of initiating it, I think so. And guys, the entire thing was just doom and gloom for me. I thought, like, life hates me, my ancestors hate me, they only come to shout at me. You know, I had such a very bad relationship with, like, I was not taught to have a good relationship with my guys. So I thought there were these things or these people that come and stress me out, and they don't want to see me happy, and they are like destroying things, you know. It was like I literally saw them as like fire. And she said to me, Gosiame, you need to love your gift the way it actually loves you.
It's true.
And guys, till date, I know, like, I approach it like that. I approach my guys like that. And ever since that, I think we've had such an amazing relationship, so many soft landings, you know. Even if they throw me in the deep end, shame bona, I try to you know, they really try to say, we try to get into a communication with I can't do this, I'm scared, what do I do, I need help, you know. And I can come as I am, and I do get the help, you know. Maybe very unconventional, but I do get it.
That's so funny. I think that's so interesting, you know. And I think maybe because the kulumang is tunya and umoya, I wanna ask about love, you know, and that relationship with African spirituality, because I think a lot of people, or how it's been framed for us over the years, we would never equate African spirituality to love, to softness, to kindness. And I want to know what you think about that, knowing what you know now.
Knowing what I know now, I always say that love anchors everything. You know, the moment you get into Indumba, I always tell my kids, the moment ungene Ndumbeni, do it with love, you know. The moment you open yourself up to umoya uyasebenza, you know. But if uzongena ngequbu nani, and I mean, prior to that, I knew the healing spectra as, you know, this fearful place, this, oh my gosh, we have to scream, we have to shout, it must be like fun is kakazele, you know. And having to unlearn that.
Yeah.
That was the first time, but I've had to like unlearn it, to say no, actually we can do this with love. We can do this with, and actually we can be met with love even in this, you know.
Yeah.
So it's been very important for me. It's been very important for my clients. I've seen it. I've seen how people, you know, I always say some, like, there will be 10% that comes into your ndumba, not because bafuna uzohlola, guys.
I know, I had a moment like that yesterday. I had, you know, when you have like a conversation with someone and it hurts you on the inside what you have to ask them about. Like, I think we had a conversation about, actually, do you think you're ugly? And she said yes. And that was the worst thing that I ever felt on the inside. And even having to ask the person that question was hard for me. And I think the hardest thing about it was that she believed it. But when I looked at her face, she was so beautiful. Like, you know, there are people that walk into your space and this person muhle. Like, you can't stop staring at them. But they literally believe, Uguti, oh my gosh, I'm so ugly. So I think, you know, it was for me that experience where you sit with someone and you're like, okay, actually you came for bones, but we're not gonna do that today.
That's not, yeah.
And you switch them aside and you have like a pep talk with someone, but when they leave, you're just like, oh my gosh, like, love is actually such an important aspect of this work, because you need to know how to sort of like hug someone's soul sometimes, you know. And I'm not good with physical touch, right? So I don't really hug people. I'm not a touch person because I sense everything so much. And I think people take offense, but really I gauge energy so easily that I don't hug people, you know. So I couldn't hug her, but I needed to use words that were gonna feel like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, imagine if I wasn't a nice person, or
exactly.
I couldn't find that
and then
in
you
me.
couldn't find it in you, and you couldn't just umzwela umuntu, and you know, uthande, and umbonisa uthando. That sometimes people are going through so much. They're going through so much, and sometimes it's just our conversation they need.
That's so crazy.
It's just like I needed this, and then so yeah, it's love.
That's so crazy. So maybe I must ask about, because I had a conversation with someone else, because I sometimes have fears about, like, I'm those people like, oh, should I be doing this? And then I like, for every single thing that I'm doing, I almost go back to my guides and ask for permission or whatever, right? So I want to know about Gosiame and her career, and like, how has that worked out for her on the spiritual journey? Because I think it's like a challenge that like a lot of people face. And I speak to a lot of healers where it's like, you know, I really wanted to be this, for example, but I feel like I'm being pulled in this direction. And, you know, I want to just know, like, what's been the relationship there for you, and what's been the outcome in terms of, are you learning anything through this process, or what's the feeling there?
Yo, that's a deep one. So when I graduated in 2020, I think, towards my graduation, I had this urge to leave work. Like, it was so strong, right?
Yeah.
And I remember talking to my Gobela about it. She was like, let's you know, you need the job, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm under the impression that I'm leaving work, and then work became just toxic. And I'm under the impression that I'm leaving work because you know?
Yeah.
And then Papa, okay.
Shucks.
All right. I'm like, okay, cool. And I just felt like for the longest time, I was like, this is so unfair, because, you know, so this is just so unfair. Like, you know, I had things going for me, you know, for the first time, Bengiti, this is going to be the year where you know, I just want to eat my money, and I just want to have fun. And then I was home for a while, And then I still didn't get it because I was still just wanting to go back to work.
Yeah.
Right? So I didn't get it. I was just like wanting, yeah, I'm here in Sendumbeni, love and light, cool, but I'm going back to work. And indeed, I got another job. And then when I got that job, my word, it didn't work out. Hey, like literally the first day I walked in, I messaged my friend and I said, I need to leave. I can't do this.
Day one,
I said, I cannot do this. And I spoke to everyone. They were like, what is the issue? What is the issue? I'm like, guys, there ain't no issue.
Yeah.
I'm just not supposed to be here. But anyway, they're like, no, just give it a month. Okay, give it 3 months. It was so difficult for me. But anyway, then I ended up leaving in April. Left, and I was like, you know what, this is my life now, you know, I'm just gonna just chill
Free
in
flow.
my Dumba and do my thing, because no, I don't want to do this anymore. And I didn't like how I felt, you know, and I'm like, this feeling is coming again. But the whole time I'm like, this is so unfair, because with me now, you know, again. And I started going back, and I said to my guys, listen guys, I really love what I do. You know, I really love being a marketer, Shem. I do love it. And in umsebenzi wami ngiyawuthanda. We need to come to some sort of compromise.
Yeah, true.
You know, I don't think the message has landed. But it's a conversation. Now I'm back in the corporate space, and it's so much better.
That's good.
Like so much better. But because I'm also so much better, you
Yes.
know, I've got a very different sense of maturity towards the person that I am. And when I go into a workspace, I don't try to water Gogo Dieketseng down to say no, you know. I bring that into my work, and I try and accommodate my gift in the work that I do.
That's
and
so important.
that has become so much, like, work is so much easier, guys.
Yeah, that's so
For the
crazy.
first time, I don't mind working.
Yeah.
And I have never, I was always like, I love marketing, but I just did not like being at work.
Yeah, I get it. So, but do you think it's you who's changed, or do you think it's them?
Oh, I said
You know how they'll say the relationship between ourselves and our guides is reflected in our reality. And that's why I'm asking, you know, because sometimes we thought it was them when it was actually us. And then as soon as we change and we see them differently, then we suddenly see everything else change, you know? So who do you think it is?
It has, yeah, shame. It's them, damn. Damn. Oh, boring. It's them, I guess. Yes, because yes, you know, you know, our industry, right?
Yes.
So sometimes like I'm at conference,
Yes.
where hello,
Yeah.
I'm at conference, this is what happens. No, it's Tuesday. But now I can work because I feel like we're just, oh, it's them. Never mind.
I don't know, because I always feel like it's hard in that, like, for me, I never really know where they at, you know. So like sometimes I don't know if I'm a better communicator or I'm not communicating well enough, and I'm just like, yo, these people, how do you ever really know who's in the wrong and who's in the right? You know, you almost always just, you know, seeing yourself through it. And I always ask these questions because I want to know what other healers think, you know. Jeez, that's so crazy. Okay, next question. I want to know, Guti, what's the next chapter for Gosiame or Gogo Dieketseng? Like, in terms of like wishes and, you know, growth path, what's next? Like, what are we going to be seeing from her? I'm asking you this because someone's asked me this question before and it was so hard for me to answer.
That's why I'm like, yo, I don't know.
You must know. I think you know why I'm asking. I'm asking because you know, when you fall in love with something, right? Your relationship with that thing grows so much. You see it going like so much further. And it doesn't have to be about like being ukobela or ini, but there's certain things that you see flowing out of you as an extension of like your work even. That you never thought you would like be able to do. Like, I think example for me, it's been the soaps. Like when I'm really frustrated, that is like the one thing that I go to, and that's an outlet for me, and people buy them from me, and it's a good source of income maybe for me. But it's like one of the things where I was like, how is it that I could do this as an extension of that, and then suddenly this thing makes so much sense to me, you know?
No, I get you.
Or like, I think today or yesterday I was just sitting with my twasas and we were discussing like being smart and being a healer, and how you can't be the one without the other.
That is so true. That is so true.
So I always sort of want to ask, because I feel like, you know how when you become a healer, we get so boxed in, you know? Like, what are the things that you suddenly are starting to see as possibilities for you because of this work? And the reason that I ask this question is because I think we always think it's like a one-size-fits-all approach, you know? We all think the path is going to be the same, but sometimes it's not, you know? And sometimes when you ask other healers, it plants seeds in the minds of other gifted people. No, actually, there's so much more to this whole thing, you know?
That's true. I think on my side, like just making umsebenzi kaNkulunkulu as accessible, especially in our, like on our age group, age group here too, just making it so accessible, and people must realize that it's not what, you know, religion and Christianity have boxed umsebenzi kaNkulunkulu so much that I'm trying to tear that down. I mean, I host hikes when I'm in a good mood. I host hikes, and then we do prayer walks, and then we do, you know, because I'm just trying to get out of the church. I know that Nhamba Nabafundis, you know, that will always be like church. And that thing used to freak me out. I don't want to lie. It used to freak me out because I was like, what? I know. Champagne. Never. But like, then I realized, then I started prayer circle. Where like on a monthly basis I am hosting prayer, so that's my church, you know. These hikes are my church. It's not the conventional church, but it's just bringing access back into umsebenzi kaNkulunkulu, because that's like when I ask my guides, they always say, so I've said, okay, but I'm Gosiame, I'm constantly outdoors. This is what I love, you know. And how do I make sure that I can bring that in? And they were like, cool. So we've been doing it.
On that note, actually, I want to just get your understanding of isithunywa and what it is, because I think we obviously come from different backgrounds in terms of how we've been taught. What is it to you?
Nkosi. Isithunywa is a gift type that will use the teachings of, but uses the teachings of God.
Exactly. Yeah, they are the same.
They really are the same.
People are in denial, but
it's like, I'm just like, how?
I know, that was like my biggest disappointment when I later went and did isithunywa, because I got there and I was like, wait, this is so similar.
It's so similar. Even the rituals are like
quite similar.
I don't know, but it makes sense because Ingati isithunywa was a dab. Well, that's how I think of it. It was a dab based on Uguti Sisabu Gwenzalo. So let's do this, but it's a dab. So.
It is a dab, and I tell people this all the time. But anyway, the reason I'm also asking is because, you know, I've noticed now Guti isithunywa is just popping up more and more and more all of a sudden, you know. And sometimes it almost makes you feel that, like, because it looks like the easier thing, people want to go into that space more. People will tell you about shorter periods of time, things like that. But, like, what has it been like for you?
Sure, it has not been what is out there. I can tell you that. I initiated Is for a full year.
Yeah, I was telling someone this.
And, like, guys, that's still, like, that's why I need to come. You know, that's what I think. That's why it's also so lonely.
Yeah.
You know, because then people are like, what on earth were you doing for a year that abantu bayenza in 2 weeks, abantu bayenza? And I'm like,
but
no,
there's no way,
there's
guys.
no,
There's no way ungaphakamisa umoya in 2 weeks. And that's, like, an honest thing that we also need to talk about. I think, you know, the one thing for me, because I had a difficult journey, and it was because I wanted easy, you know. So it was because I went into it with the mentality of, like, 3 months and then I'm back home and I'm with my family. But you can't become a doctor in 3 months, guys. You can't become a doctor in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
You know? So I think it's like an honest conversation that we're not having with people to say, Guti, even idlozi, guys, even idlozi, yes, 6 months is good enough to give you a base. But
And
it's
that's all
not
it
good
does.
enough to make you, like, a fully fledged healer. It actually takes, like, many, many years to develop yourself as a healer in or out of ipehlo, you know. But I think I wanted to have this discussion with you because I was talking to my initiates yesterday, and I was like, I know it's turned out to be at least 3 years. You know, and they were like,
Getting
what?
goosebumps.
Not 3 months. And I was like, no. And remember, I went into it being a Kobela, and it took me 8 months. So for me, even that, I thought, I'll be here for 3 weeks, 3 months if I'm lucky. And my guides were like, no. There is no way that is going to happen. You are going to do this, and you're going to do it properly. You know? And I think even after that, it became a thing of, I think when I went out with you,
yes, I remember.
for months and months after my process, you know, until they said, Uguti, no, now you can ususi tugu. Now you can go back to your initial life. I was a Kobela, but I was sleeping on the floor.
Sure.
You know, so when my tassas would be around and we'd share space, omunye bekalala ngapha phansi, mina ngilale ngapha phansi, and it was just something that I needed to go through, you know. And I think I even spoke about it in the last episode I did, yes, Tunyaguti. And for me, it was different because it was for grounding purposes as well. You know, where it's like, miss, don't think, Uguti, you're too good for us. You must still be able to kneel, even though other people kneel for you.
Yes.
And you must still be able to respect another Kobela, because actually the information she has, you don't have.
Sure.
And that's exactly why you're there. You know, so it's not about Uguti, you can't kneel for her, because if you had the information, you would
not
there.
be here.
You know?
Sure.
But yeah, I think for me, it's been interesting having this conversation with you. I'm going to cap it at that, but I do want you to tell us, where do we find you if we're looking to consult with you? And what do we bring with us, and what do we leave behind?
I do my consultations through email. So I take my consultations through email. It's gogo.dieketseng@gmail.com, but I've got it on my Instagram. And my Instagram is, I think it's Goyami.
Okay, I'll tag the video so that at least her tags and stuff are on there, and it's easy for you guys to find her.
Yeah. And what do people bring? People bring their open hearts. I always say just an open heart and an open mind and honesty, because that's what we work with. We work with the heart in Mandumba a lot. And what you will take away is things that you will be able to use. Noma ngathiwa guys izinto ziyaphopa ngiya in New York angizangitholi, but I'm just here to return the truth, and the truth in your family, Uguti. You understand, how do you go about life, you know, without having to constantly be in my ndumba. Like, I don't want that. Like, I eat clients, come get equipped, but then go, like, fly, you know, because essentially that's the work.
So interesting. Okay, so I always ask this question, especially with healers. as a gifted person, like, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to another gifted person who's either like just starting out or even just about to go into the spiritual experience? Like, what words would you give them to guide them on the path?
Surrender to the ever evolving you and the ever evolving demands. Like, just surrender. The more you resist, that's the frustrating part. Like, just breathe. Just say, okay, oiti, my name is Gosiame for a reason. Gosiame, and let it be okay, you know. So surrender. I'm learning that, and I can see, yeah.
Crazy. Okay. Thokoza Gogo. Thank you so much for allowing us into your space. Thank you so much for sharing a bit of yourself with us. I definitely believe that there's people who are waiting to hear the message, because I don't believe that guides are not intentional, you know. So I think the fact that we've even had the conversation, it means that there are people waiting to hear your version of the story. So I can't wait just to see the comments and everything. But also thank you to everyone who's listened to this podcast. Thokozani.